How do you make yourself more recognizable to your future mate? Well, first, you need to recognize where you are emotionally in your heart. What do you really want? I see people either saying or writing that they really want to be in a meaningful relationship or they really want to be married, but they have to get their heads right first. See, when I was single and working on me, what was I working on? I was working on trying to make myself more recognizable to my future mate. How do you do that? Well, you have to understand that there is a disconnect with you psychologically and your emotional self. You want a certain thing, but your mindset is not consistent with that which is written upon your heart. Now, sisters, I have to talk to you because, and this is not to place blame, but you changed. I have to share this with you because you have changed. And it's not whether or not you've changed for the good or for the bad. That's not the point. The point is you are a different woman than what anyone has ever seen in the past several hundred years, probably several thousands of years. Remember when I talked to you about the divorce revolution of the 1970s and the children, how they had to have been affected statistically, according to child psychological studies. Well, not only was we a part of the divorce revolution of the 1970s, but you were also a part of the sexual revolution that came along around that same time. And then you were also a part of the women's liberation movement, in which there was a lot of change needed to take place, but the social changes and the cultural norms and standards, they all have changed. The rules have not only changed, but they are still changing, in which it is unrealistic to you, for me to believe that you have not changed with the times. The times have changed you. As a result, men, brothers, now I'm talking to you. You have changed into what you thought would get her attention. Now, when you came through, men of the 1970s, 1960s and 70s, you grew up under the same ideology as what your parents had over them. That same umbrella of the 40s and 50s and 20s and 30s. All of it was the same up until the 1960s and 70s. That was the most drastic social change that we have ever experienced. And so we are no longer recognizable to one another. Why? Because society changed, the standards changed, sisters, you changed, and the brothers changed into what they thought would get your attention and keep your attention. And so now we no longer are recognizable to one another. This is not necessarily whether or not something is good or bad, but it's something where we need to focus on what changed, why it changed, and what do we have to do to get back to a place to where we recognize one another and look upon each other's hearts, because we all want the same thing. When I talk to women separately and they open their hearts to me, and I go away saying to myself, now there goes some wonderful sisters. Hopefully someday the right brother will come along. And when I talk to men separately from women, they open up their hearts, and I'm saying to myself, these are some good brothers. Hopefully they'll meet the right woman soon. We are not recognizable to one another. And in order to become more recognizable, we're going to have to get to a place to where we can identify where we are in our hearts emotionally, what is written upon our hearts, what message is that for the person that you will eventually meet. And then you're going to have to get your head at the same place where your heart is at the same time, so that you can become more recognizable. All of you might have met a good brother or a good sister, but just didn't recognize one another. And to say recognizability, the definition is that you know something because you've either seen it before or experienced it before, and you know as well as I do, sisters, that we've never seen nothing like you before today. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff wrote a piece that was originally written for Patti LaBelle's group, LaBelle, but it was recorded by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and it featured Teddy Pendergrass, if you don't know me by now. Said, all the things that we've been through, you should understand me like I understand you. Just trust in me like I trust in you. As long as we've been together, that should be so easy to do. Now, I hope I quoted those lyrics accurately, but you know the song. I incidentally got a chance to know one of the members of Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, good brother. In order to become more recognizable, because upon meeting one another, you're not going to be able to see the heart. But somewhere there's a scripture that says God looks upon the heart. Now, we don't have the capability, or we lost the capability to do that. But even in nature, the animals, that's what they do to recognize one another. They have they have a code. For example, the zebras, they look at the patterns of the stripes to determine one from the other. I think that's pretty amazing. They memorize the pattern of the stripes. It's kind of like their fingerprint. And as for human beings, no two fingerprints are alike. So there's some uniquenesses there that we have to get used to about one another. But there should be a common thread that connects us, that binds us together, just from where we come from. So let's stop down and let's try to identify where we are emotionally. And let's try to get our heads to be at the same place where our hearts are, so that we can become more recognizable to not only the mates that we have in our lives currently, but if you're single, potentially your future mate will be able to recognize you better. That way we can meet one another the right way, be together the right way, and put away some of this unnecessary struggle that is not necessarily a part of our doing. And remember, I'm only here to help. I want for you the same things that I want for myself. I want you to be happy. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be in a relationship of fulfillment, and I want you to live a life of longevity. But above and beyond all of these things combined, I wish you many, many blessings. I'm looking forward to solidifying the date for our first live event, #relationships registry and forum. We're going to have a good time. We're going to put this whole conversation to music, and you guys should really get a kick out of that, because a lot of what we go through every day has already been written about and put to music. But until then, I look forward to hearing your response. My name is Jay Jackson.